recently on Inside Star Citizen, they were talking about stealth gameplay. And I mean, they were talking about it as a branch off of what their main topic was, which is, of course, the new derelicts that are coming to the surface of planets. And along with that, a little bit of the stealth gameplay element of sneaking around and taking down enemies now that the navigational mesh has been updated and they're going to start to appear not just inside the bunkers, but at these crashed starships on the surface of planets and whatnot. And I think it's it would be a good idea to kind of talk about these things, because stealth gameplay in Star Citizen currently is, it's not the best. I personally am a huge fan of games where there's stealth gameplay. Assassin's Creed, Metal Gear Solid, World of Warcraft, The Old Republic, anything that has a rogue-like character or class that you can play. I very much get into that very, very quickly. I love the sneaking around bit. When you look at something like dogfighting in Star Citizen, that's one player versus another, or one player versus an NPC, and they're both looking to kind of control the situation, to push the tempo of the fight in the direction that they want it to go. It's very much dependent on, these two variables coming into collision and then seeing who comes out on top, these two opponents. But when it comes to stealth gameplay, there really isn't a tempo to be pushed more often than not. It's in the hands of the player and how unskillfully, as you can see by those last 4 shots, or skillfully the player executes it. It becomes a wonderful field for individual achievement, even within the context of an MMO. Now, if you think about this, if you were a law-abiding player and you were going in here to capture this criminal and you had to get past all these guards, this is an area where, there could be a mission that goes out to criminal players like, oh, the Nine Tails bunker, there's those, law enforcement's breaking into our bunker right now, come and help us and we'll pay you X amount of credits. Or, it could be the security bunker, any one of the new security bunkers where all of a sudden the mission goes out, criminals are trying to break into our bunker, please save us. Or perhaps if you don't alert the enemies to your presence, if you're very careful and you're hiding the bodies and whatnot, then maybe the enemies don't become wise to you being there. And so if you're good, you can slip past all these guys and the mission never gets generated because no one knows it's happening. You see what I'm saying? You kind of open up the door to an area where an individual player who has developed their skills, who has become very, very good at the game, can actually do something that ordinarily it might require multiple players to do safely. But because they have become so good or so competent at this type of activity, they're able to do this on their own. This could be the hacker sneaking into the police bunker in order to, hack down someone else's crime stat or their own, depending on whether or not we want to continue with markers on anybody with crime stat. Stanton, I can see the argument why it is, because it's a law-abiding system, but I do think that the system is a little over the top. But realistically, if you look at the way stealth gameplay is built, this is a wonderful area to kind of explore for individual achievement and individual player development. I would like to see a lot more of this explored in Star Citizen. Oftentimes when you hear about features like theaters of war or something like that, players will get very excited for these features, but I feel that the truth really is that it's gameplay like this that allows players to kind of enjoy the game on their own It's the stuff like this that is really going to pay bigger dividends for CIG in terms of player engagement and satisfaction with the game than perhaps even CIG is ready or willing to admit. When you're constantly looking at these big missions, Xeno Threat or Theaters of War or whatnot, when it's these big multiplayer events, and once again now the invasion of Orison or the Battle of Orison, whatever, it's important to remember that there are going to be things that are happening when these events are not running. And more often than not, these events are going to be not happening for most of the time. And I think we do have to kind of look at what players are doing outside of these events and treat that a little bit higher on the priority list than saying, oh, hey, and we're bringing out a new event. Because this is really where this is kind of the thing that's going to bring a lot of players into the game and say, oh, as I'm starting to learn the game, as I'm developing, this is something I can do on my own to become a bit of a better player. This is how I can build up a lot of money on my own, where I don't have to worry so much about another player sweeping in on top of me, and I can actually explore the Star Citizen universe without having to wait for my other friends to log on so that we can feel a little bit safer or do everything as a team, because everything is, multiplayer based. When I see CIG putting so much effort into advertising events like Return to Jumptown, Attack on Orison, all this stuff like that, I get what they're doing, right? It's kind of like a marquee feature. It's for the patch. It's just like, hey, look at this. Oh, and we're changing it up a little bit, and now you can do that, and that sort of thing. And it captures attention, certainly. But I would argue that things like stealth gameplay, things like looting, looting corpses, selling the goods and whatnot, these features, which may not be as marquee, as flashy or whatnot, I would say that the development time that has gone into these features has yielded far greater dividends for the game than, Attack on Orison or Xeno Threat ever will. Sure, blowing up an Idris can make for a spectacular YouTube video, but day in and day out, it's going to be how you as an individual interact with the universe, and having multiple different ways to interact with that universe and profit and win or lose or be killed or whatnot. It's these elements that may seem a little bit more mundane and a little bit more boring are actually where we get the most of our reward from. And I'm not talking about financial rewards in the game, but more our personal sense of accomplishment and fun when we're playing these games. And so I hope that CIG isn't kind of getting trapped into a mentality of, it's like, okay, well, what's going to be our next big battle? Because in all honesty, while these events certainly look flashy and, probably CIG is like, hey, that was really cool and it looks really awesome in a trailer or on a stream, they realize that really the meat and potatoes of Star Citizen is in the features that are probably not as exciting on a video or on a stream or whatnot, but that yield far greater dividends than they are given credit for, because they aren't this like big explosions and ships flying around everywhere and rocket launchers and all of that. It's this kind of stuff that really is what keeps a game going, and I hope that CIG isn't losing sight of that when they're kind of deciding where they want to put their resources for every new patch cycle in Star Citizen. Anyways, that's just a few of my thoughts after seeing the recent Inside Star Citizen. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.